There is no way that you're going to tell me I'm going to work my whole life. I'm going to sit behind a desk and work 9 to 5 each day of my life until retirement. There is no way that...
All right, let's move on to our next clip. We've got to get into some TikTok hot messes that Brad and I stumbled upon this week. Let's roll the first one from a very anti-work young woman.
There is no way that you're going to tell me I'm going to work my whole life. I'm going to sit behind a desk and work 9 to 5 each day of my life until retirement. There is no way that is what life is about. I will not be put in that box. I'm sorry. I just realized a little bit extra. Ooh, little boogie. I want to have fun. Like, I actually want to have fun, and I don't understand why this is the norm and we're putting up with this. I know half of us are not putting up with it, but I feel like we're putting up with it too much. It's time to take a stand. I don't know how we would take a stand. I'm so red because I'm stressed. This is why I travel, because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to work and then I'm going to travel, because why the would I lock myself into a job for the rest of my life? I need to see the world. Like, I genuinely need to see the world and experience life. And I'm young and I'm lucky that I have that privilege of not having too many responsibilities, not having any little rats running around, you know what I mean? But like, Jesus Christ, it's going to make me cry. And I love you all. And if you're working and you're struggling, you're the and you deserve love and light and peace. Bye.
Okay, so Miss Thing clearly forgot to take her Adderall today or something. She does not seem okay in this video. Like, can we do a check, like a wellness check?
I actually think this should be the commercial for what a manic episode looks like and why you should take your meds. Like, take your meds, take your meds, take your meds. This is not normal. This is bizarre. It's a lot to take
in. They're
in.
glorifying it. It's got millions of views and so many likes and fan comments. Like, they're glorifying this unhinged behavior.
Because they think that it's justified, right? Like, this is how much they truly believe they're victims and so oppressed because they have to work. Meanwhile, she's saying she has a privilege to travel all over the world. So I don't think she's working that hard or that oppressed or just really slugging it out. But they truly think that. Like, they genuinely are like, yes, stand up to the man, stand up against the system, stand up against this oppression. They are just so far removed from people who actually have struggles in this country, yet alone globally. It is shockingly disconnected from reality, and it reeks of privilege. It actually is just laughable. And again, it really, I truly feel like this person needs to take some medication. Like, even yourself out. It's not that big a deal. Go to work.
I also,
you sit in air conditioning at a desk. I think you're okay.
Yeah, I think you're okay. But also, like, I just want to have fun and travel the world. Like, okay, who in society, if everyone just had fun and nobody worked and did anything, like, okay, where's all the food on your grocery store shelf, right?
Who's flying your plane?
Who's flying the plane?
Who's working the hotel you're staying in?
Hotel room? Yeah, exactly. It's like society has to run and operate, and you guys and these people who are so anti-work feel like they're just, as a human, entitled to just relax and do whatever they want, but they don't realize that would have to rest on the backs of other people working and hustling. Like, otherwise there would be nothing to go tour and enjoy and this lifestyle. How are she thinks she should be able to stay at home and order from Amazon and scroll TikTok and plan trips, but of course the Amazon delivery truck driver still gonna have to show up to her house. Her freaking Uber Eats is still gonna have to show up. I mean, somebody's gonna have to cook that food. Like, it's the entitlement for me that makes me a little nauseous watching these people.
It's annoying because, you know what? I too wanted to travel the world and work from home. And guess what I did? Worked my butt off to get there. Like, I don't have any sympathy for you. Very few people get to have those kinds of lifestyles. And you are fortunate to live in a country where if you really want to, you can work your butt off and do it too. But you usually have to slug it out for a little bit first and do a lot of dirty jobs and build and get there over time. And that's an amazing actual opportunity that you're given that many people throughout the globe still are not, that many people throughout history have not had. So I don't feel any sympathy for you whatsoever. You want to be one of the privileged few who gets to just travel around and people wait on you. Well, you better be exceptional. You better be exceptionally smart. You better be exceptionally talented. You better have an exceptional idea. Bring something to the table, make the money, and then go live that way. But to think that you should just have it handed to you and people should just wait on you hand and foot, I think makes you a pretty bad person, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you're essentially saying you're entitled to other people's labor and you're better than other people and you should be elevated above them. And the whole thing, it makes me really nauseous. And I get it. Like, some dumb chick somewhere says something dumb. But what depresses me more is that this has 1 million views and it's literally, most of them are positive. The comment section is mostly positive. Like, who are the people looking to these folks as role models? This woman has 400,000 followers on TikTok, and of course, her whole TikTok page is her traveling and like just in living the life, and of course complaining about her Uber drivers. It's like the audacity, her meeting Meghan Trainor. It's like, oh yeah, but you have to work so hard. Clearly, you're a travel TikToker. Jesus Christ, give me a break.
This is big Karen energy. All right, well, let's move on to our next crazy TikToker, because fortunately for our content purposes, there are a plethora of them.
We can't raise the minimum wage. Why? Because small businesses wouldn't be able to afford it. Why? Because if they had to pay people more, they wouldn't be able to have as many people, or they'd have to raise prices on products in the store. So that means more people wouldn't go to the stores anyway. Why? Because people would rather go to Walmart or someplace that has a lot more stuff for cheaper. People like cheaper stuff. Why? Because not a lot of Americans have a great amount of disposable income. Why? Because minimum wage is only $7 an hour.
So this really made me want to pull my hair out as somebody familiar with basic economic data and reality. But just for she says that the reason people don't have disposable income is because the federal minimum wage is $7. I mean, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, it's about 1.5% of hourly paid workers earn the federal minimum wage. So not even all Americans, just look at hourly workers alone, 1.5% earn $7.25 or whatever the minimum wage is. It's $7.25 per hour, because most have earned a higher rate in the market or live in a place with a higher state or local minimum wage. So the entire premise of this is factually baseless. And then the flip side as well, she's saying there are a lot more reasons than just small businesses can't afford it to oppose raising the minimum wage. But she realized, like, she's shilling for Amazon. Amazon lobbies to increase the minimum wage because they know it will bankrupt mom and pops and help big corporations consolidate because they can afford it. And yet these progressive working there for the little guy, they don't realize they're literally on Team Jeff Bezos on this one.
She also she's so smug throughout the video, and I love when people really think they have this like gotcha that just lacks the basics of economics. Like, she thinks that no economist has ever been, smart enough to think about this argument that she has, and she's really stumped everybody with this revelation that if you just paid people more, they could afford more expensive things. Like, I don't think she understands how disposable income works. The missing circle, piece of logic in her circle thing that she's doing right there is that when people's income raises and the price of goods raise, they still have the same amount of disposable income, right? Like, they don't all of a sudden just have a lot more disposable incomes. If they're making more, prices of goods are more. And so they end up in pretty much the same position, just everything costs a bit more. That's not how you actually elevate people out of poverty. And it's just, I can't stand when there's these very obvious, like, they're so close to actually understanding an economic cycle, and then they just, through their own arrogance, drop the ball and have the audacity to post something like this on TikTok and think that they're really doing a mic drop. It's ridiculous. You look silly. And I think until you're better informed, you should stay out of politics, because you think you're helping people. But like you said, you're actually shilling for big corporations. You're actually shilling to make everything more expensive for everybody. And nothing that you're asking for would do anything to meaningfully alleviate poverty.
No, it wouldn't. And it's also funny because let's talk about the real reasons why disposable income is so low. Well, and it's not, but like why it's not higher. A huge one is inflation. People have had their paychecks eroded because of reckless government spending and money printing, as well as some international factors. But that's not something you're concerned about fixing, clearly, if you're supporting progressive economic policies. And because of taxes, we literally tax people's paychecks. We take a huge chunk out of every person. We have taxes on jobs, employment, and paychecks. Things that we should really want to encourage, not discourage. When you tax something, you discourage it. That's why we tax cigarettes, right? And yet, oh no, disposable income is too low because the minimum wage isn't higher, when basically no one works at the federal minimum wage anyway.
And also, like, let's talk about the housing market, because that's where most people's income's going, right? It's going to their rent, their mortgage. Those are your biggest bills. People keep talking on TikTok about why those things are so expensive, eating away the bulk of the money they're bringing in. That is also due to government policies. That is also due to government preventing the expansion of housing, making it too expensive to build houses, making it too expensive to get the equipment and supplies that you need to build houses. That comes down to trade policies. It comes down to regulations. It comes down to zoning ordinances. It comes down to a lot of NIMBYism laws, like historic overlays and trying to keep neighborhoods looking a certain way. Like, if you are mad about people not having disposable income, you need to turn around and look in the mirror, because it has a lot to do with progressive policies. Period.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So up next for our anti-capitalism TikToks, we have one of this guy who was really horrified, and this is blown up, this TikTok. He was horrified at the idea that he encountered a 13-year-old working at a Chick-fil-A. Take a look.
You work here?
Yeah.
How old are you?
13.
Oh my god. Is that even allowed?
What?
Is that even allowed?
Yeah, it is.
13?
Yeah.
But do you know like your multiplication chart?
Oh, no, I know. So my dad owns the store.
Oh, your dad owns it.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this was shared by a progressive union account on Twitter, and it has 2.6 million views. And they're clearly like railing against the horror of child labor being brought back in the US. And it's like, hold up. This is not 7-year-olds in like mills that we're talking about. This is a teenager working at his dad's store, probably for like 10 hours a week or something, getting great experience, customer service, learning hard work, making some pocket money. I don't see any problem with it. And I mean, I'm not somebody who thinks all child labor should be legal like some crazy libertarian, but the idea that young teenagers can have very modest and highly regulated amounts of working while in school doesn't horrify or shock me.
And in their own family store. Now, and also, like, why does he ask him if he knows his multiplication tables? As if you need to know what 10 times 10 is to serve fried chicken. Like, what?
And he's 13. Of course he does. Like,
yeah, what does it do with anything? But as a former child laborer myself, I do think most child labor laws are stupid. I worked under the table from the time I was 10 years old on, had some of my best jobs of all time doing that. My favorite one was I worked for Beanie Babies. This is how we legally got around it. But I worked for a store down the street from me when I was like 11, 12, during the Beanie Baby bubble, you know, when we thought they were going to really like help us all retire. And I got paid 2 Beanie Babies a day to run the cash register and do inventory and stock shelves. And I loved it. I think labor is great for kids as long as the conditions are safe, as long as, you know, the environment isn't threatening to them and they have supervision. Like, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we try to prevent kids from working and learning basic skills. If anything, we need to introduce labor sooner for kids. We need to have more apprenticeships, more ways for them to start learning different skill sets so that they don't have to go to college and waste a ton of money when they're 18 on degrees that probably aren't even in fields they want to do. So I think we have this completely backwards as a society, but I mean, obviously, you know what unions are after. They have an agenda here, so not surprising they're going to try to go after this very wholesome scenario and try to paint it as this big, bad, scary thing happening in the labor market, and for why you need unions to come in and make sure everybody's safe and cozy.
I always love stuff where people prove the opposite of the point they think they're proving, and I think this falls into that category.